Hi, and welcome to Hypothetically Intentional, where we ask the question, what if we set intentions with everything we do? I'm your host, Michelle Albers. Today I have Asha Boggs with me. Welcome, Asha.
Hi.
I forgot to talk to you about setting an intention before we hit record. Would you like to do that? Do you want me to do that, or should we come up with one together?
I guess I don't, I'm open.
Ooh, I think that's a great intention. My intention for today is to be open. I want to be in flow today. That feels really good.
That does, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Nicely done. See, this is how we roll, girl. So I could go into a big long introduction about who Asha is and how I know her and all of that. And I feel like I want to hear I would prefer to hear your version of how we met because sometimes like hearing it through the perspective of someone else and we've talked about it. It's not like I don't know at all some of your thoughts and feelings about it all.
Right.
But I would love for our listeners to hear from your perspective sort of like our little journey. I'm being a little elusive, but I'm doing that intentionally.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I think it's going back to December, maybe end of December. You had just gotten back from Thailand, I think.
Yeah, you got
And
jet lagged, Michelle, right out of the gates.
yes, and I had signed up for the Choose Your Self experience, and we met. Well, we had I guess we had a conversation previous to that
Yeah.
because I had been referred by a friend, and I was kind of like, okay, this is different. Like, I'm in therapy. This is a little different. Do I really want to pursue this or not? And we met. We had an initial conversation. I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Like, felt a connection. Was kind of intrigued by it because I'll be honest, I don't know that I went into it super open. I mean, I was open in the sense that I was willing to have the conversation with you to see like the connection, to see if, anything that you offered would be beneficial to where I was at and just in my own healing. And but I like looking back, I'm like, yeah, I don't know that I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna like be amazing. I'm gonna be really open. I think I was pretty guarded. And then we had that initial conversation, and I found myself not being guarded, which I'm
Well,
like,
I
what?
was
This is not who I am. Like, I don't just like talk to people the first time that I meet them. So,
It's so funny because I was going to
um,
stop you and go, hang on, you weren't guarded, but you said you were guarded, or you said you might be guarded at some point in our conversation. I
yeah,
remember thinking, I'm pretty good with energy and you don't feel guarded, but you kept kind of like pronouncing yourself as that. I was like, okay, well, I guess maybe we'll see.
yeah. And I don't like, there was just, and I don't know, like, you can't describe it, I guess. Like, I keep trying to think about it because, like, when I tell people about you, I'm like, I don't know how to describe like just that connection that you feel with someone when you first meet them, and people just kind of look at me like, okay, like I guess. um, and so anyway, we had that conversation, and then after that, I booked the Choose Yourself experience because I think we had the initial conversation right before you left for Thailand, and then
Mhm.
so I booked when you got back, and then we ended up doing Reiki during that, I think. And then that was kind of, I feel like the thing that I was like, oh, okay, this is different, and I felt different. I didn't know what to expect. I had no idea. Like, I was like, okay, I'll try it out. I'm gonna see, we're gonna meet, like we'll see where this goes. If is this something that I want to pursue or not? I was really on the fence about it. And I like just that whole session, like I walked out of there like feeling already like something had happened, and I still like don't have the words necessarily to describe it. But I was just like, I remember coming home and telling my husband, like, what the heck was that? Like, I don't know what this was, but this is what she told me, and it feels right. And I was just like, like you had confirmed some things that I had always kind of wondered about, and like it just like made suddenly like a whole bunch of pieces of my life made sense that like I've been trying to kind of get at and figure out for basically my whole, I don't know, since I was little, and kind of being told by people like, no, that's not your experience, like you never, like that wasn't a thing. But then just like you connected a whole bunch of dots. And so I kind of thought about it. I talked with my husband, And I was like, so this is totally different than therapy. I'm currently in therapy. This is like feels like a different direction, but kind of similar. And I'm like, I don't really know. And I'm actually a therapist myself. So that also was like, okay, like, are you really gonna do this? Like, don't you just do the traditional therapy? Like that's what's supposed to help you heal and deal with all the stuff. And so I did a lot of like thinking, a lot of talking with my husband, talking with the person I was currently doing therapy with, and then was just like, you know what? Like something just feels right. Like I want to do something different. I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I want to try a different direction. And I've done just like in a lot of my own work. So I recently, like, I guess I've been a licensed graduate social worker for a little over a year at that point. And so like I had done a lot of just my own self-reflection and things and kind of learned a lot in my job and was like, okay, like this is different and it can also be, I don't know, like it's not just about going to talk therapy. Like I think that's kind of the idea like that most people have when they think of therapy, like, oh, you just go talk to someone and then you're better. And that's not really how it works. Like there's so many like somatic things, there's so many things that we hold in our bodies, and it's really like you have to look at the whole person. And in the job that I currently do working with substance use, it like I've learned a lot about that and just like how important that is. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. And so I signed up for the it's the what 3 month, I don't know
The
what it's technically
mastermind.
called. Yeah, the
Yeah.
mastermind. And then you're like, hey, there's this retreat this weekend. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm coming.
That
And
was like, I was like, what did I just invite her to? She doesn't know what I just invited her to. I know she doesn't know what I just invited her to. But I was compelled. It was one of those, just like you were just describing your decision. It's like sometimes you're just compelled and called to either say something or invite someone to something or to do something for yourself. That was one of those moments for me. It just dripped out of my mouth. I'm like, wait, what are you doing? You haven't even had time to like drop in and do any work together yet. Really, I mean, we did. We had
yeah,
conversation and we did, the other conversation that led to Reiki. That doesn't always happen, but it makes sense when you tell the story as to why it did now.
yeah,
It's like, oh, of course we did Reiki because that's how it was supposed to be. Of course I invited you to the summit, the retreat, because that's how it's supposed to be. And then 3 days later, you're like full blown deep dive in a weekend with a community that you've never met. I was like, rock
right.
on, girl. Not everyone's courageous enough to do that. And I'm not poo-pooing them. I'm just saying, like, rock on to
No, and like
listen to
that's the
that.
thing. Like this was so far out of my comfort zone that I was just like, what am I doing? Like, did I really just agree to this? And the thing is, like, when we were talking, I feel like I was like, yeah, okay. And it didn't, like, there was no hesitation. There was no like thinking about it. And afterwards, I'm like, wait, that's not how I make decisions. Like, I think about them. I like, analyze them. I don't just like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, that's gonna be great. Like, let me just do that. And then also just like with community and like being a part of people like that you don't know and you have no idea what you're walking into. And I was just like, oh gosh, what did I just do? And it was, I don't know, like that experience of going to that summit that weekend, there's really like I don't know how many times I said during that weekend, like, really, like this, like you didn't prepare me for any of this. And you were just like, yeah, well, I mean, there are no words. Like there really aren't. Like you can't describe to people what happens at those summits. Like it just, I don't know. Like I try to think of words that like because I was trying to tell my husband like what happened or like how I felt. And I'm like, I don't even know what to tell you because there aren't really words. Like, I feel different. I feel like something happened. Like, I went into that, like, okay, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna sit in the corner, I'm just gonna like be quiet, kind of listen to everybody, see, like, is this really a community? Because I wasn't sure about the community piece. I knew that I wanted to work with you one on one, but I was a little hesitant about the community piece because that's not something that I've ever done. It's not something that I'm like, I think I wanted it but not necessarily on, I don't know, like I just don't know what I wanted necessarily. And so that was a big kind of like, oh, I don't know, we'll see. And I ended up going, and I feel like I didn't just hide in the corner. So,
You did not hide in the corner.
and there
You
were
did
several
not.
times where I was like, what? Shut up, don't say anything. Like you're not here to say anything. And you you just kind of felt compelled to say stuff. And it just, yeah, like there was just like that instant, again, that instant connection. It wasn't like I walked in the room and felt like, okay, you're the outsider, you don't fit in, like none of those things that typically like go through my head when I walk in a room full of people, or I guess it wasn't full of people, but there was, what, six of us, seven?
Yeah, there might have been seven at that one. I can't remember. I think there was
Um,
seven total with you know the three of us that lead it, and then I think
yeah,
maybe there was five. I don't know. It doesn't matter. There were less than 10 people in the room. Which
yeah,
made it really intimate and really yeah. I mean, they always are. They always are. And knowing that community wasn't necessarily something you were drawn to or that you maybe wanted but weren't sure about and didn't feel comfortable with, like that and the fact that you dropped in and felt settled, felt
mhm,
okay, felt like welcomed. That is such like that means more to me than I can even explain to you because community is I don't do well in rooms where I don't know anyone. I tend to
yeah,
panic and sit in a corner and be a mouse and or a fly on the wall and don't engage and don't I just it's hard for me to feel safe and to trust in communities like that. It's just
yes,
something that's hard for me. And so I work really hard. I know that I can't make it safe for everyone. Like I understand that it's going to feel different to each unique individual, but one of the things I put the most intention and energy into is that it is a safe and sacred space. And hats off to that community, man, because they've been, I think most of the people in that room, like we've been doing the work together for a long time. So to have someone new come in and have them drop in and feel welcome and, wanted, so to speak,
yeah,
is an amazing thing. And I don't take credit for that. I just go look at the people in the room, man.
mhm,
Here's the thing, when we're all doing the same kind of work that you can't explain in words, there is something about belonging in that room, whether you've met each other or not, because you're all there for the same reason.
yeah.
Your
And
own
just
your own
like the
version of it,
connections
but
too,
yeah.
like there wasn't like it didn't feel like that awkward, like, okay, like you're the new person, like let's introduce you. Like it just kind of flowed. It just kind of what felt natural. And it was interesting to actually like when I thought about it, the just you're in a room with random people that you don't know, but being able to relate and connect to everyone in that room, like I was not expecting that. Like it's like, okay, well, maybe someone will have something to say that resonates with me. But it was like literally everyone had something that was like, oh, I can relate to that. Like, which I
Yeah.
don't know how you do that or like how that happens, but
Well, to be fair, I guess I don't know either. I mean, I believe it's all divinely guided. I believe we're all in that room for a purpose and a reason, and we're meant to be together somehow, some way, right? But I also am learning over time. Those rooms teach me a lot. And one of my biggest takeaways lately is I'm having the realization that we all have our own, stories and pain points and wounds and inner children on our insides and shadow work and
Mhm.
all that stuff. We all have our own unique versions of that. And the human experience is such that I don't really show up all that differently as far as the pain
Yeah.
points or like what hurts about it or any of that stuff. So I just find like, well, we can connect because we can personalize almost any story when if we actually are willing to talk about like how it affects us in the world today,
Hmm.
Because like the pain, like the fear of rejection or like the resentment that we hold or the anger that we have or the sadness or pick your thing, right? Like
Yeah.
those are human experience, like emotions and like results of these so-called negative experiences that are pain points for us that we want to heal in that room. We want to
Hmm.
heal. We want to change. We want to make shift happen. We want to find ourselves, like the one that doesn't isn't affected by all that stuff anymore. And I think that's what's so powerful is like, well, of course we can all relate because the result of whatever happened with us, to us, for us is different or is the same. The result of it is the same. The difference of how we got to that state is totally different.
Yeah.
but like we can see that in each other. We can see each other in ourselves. And I think that's such a beautiful piece of, I don't know, for me, it's like when I first started doing this work and then doing it with others and being a guide or a mentor teacher, whatever word you want to use, coach, intuitive, whatever. I think I realized knowing I'm not alone,
Yeah,
knowing that like how I responded to certain things I wasn't the only one who responded that way or felt that way or had this thing. That was so, it sounds so terrible, but it was so comforting to me to know that it wasn't just me. I wasn't some weird, you know, human who had
right,
feelings that were maybe really big and stopped me from some things. And I just love that you dropped into that community because I didn't know how it was going to go for you, right? I never know. Everybody has their own way of showing up in the world. And I know it's not even I know our community, the Choose Yourself community is big open hearts and loving and kind and compassionate. But how that's received when you're a new person in the room, I don't have any control over that. You just get to walk in and
right.
experience it.
Yeah. No, it was definitely an experience. Um, I mean, I went to the April one, so it didn't scare me away. Like it was, and it wasn't even that it was overwhelming. It was just, I've never experienced anything like that. I've never been a part of a community like where, I allowed myself to be vulnerable because I feel like I did, like, I didn't have my walls up. I think that I actually said that a few times of like, where like I don't have any wall, like I don't have like the walls that I normally go into a room with when I don't know anyone. And I was like, what is going on? Like, what's wrong with me? Why am I doing this? This doesn't feel like this is what I should be doing, but it does feel like it's what I should be doing. And so, having that argument with myself, like, okay,
Oh
this,
gosh.
what is going on?
Yeah.
um, but yeah, like it just, yeah, it again just felt right. It felt like, okay, this is where I need to be. This is like I'm sharing things that I never thought I would share with other human beings. And so yeah, and it was received like nothing happened, like my world didn't end.
Yeah.
People were really compassionate and open, and yeah, it was just like okay. So
Well, and I think you told me after this, I think it was after the summit. I don't think it was during the summit when you were like, yeah, I wasn't going to say anything and I don't even know why I did. And I remember thinking, oh, I think I said it to you is like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
I'm so glad you did because I mean, there were so many people in the room who needed exactly what you said. Like you said it in such a way that it was able to be received. And I think that's also the magic of community. That's why I always say we don't do this alone. It's too hard. We need those different perspectives, those different voices, the one nugget that like is meant for you that you get to integrate and like use for your own healing. It doesn't always come from like the lead, right? The
the,
leader, right? Like I mean, I'm the facilitator of the thing. The Choose Yourself program is like created by me, through me, of me, whatever. Also, it's not mine. Like it's ours. And it ebbs and flows as we do. And I think that's so beautiful. It's like we come together and we hold space and we heal. And
yeah,
it is as simple as that. And that does not come without mess and angst and a bunch of other stuff. But the other side of it and the process of doing it not alone is ridiculous. And so, yeah, I'm so grateful that we've met. I'm so grateful that you said yes to a bunch of stuff that you in a new and
yeah, like
different
I was
way.
just saying yes to everything. Like, okay, sure, you're gonna suggest it, I guess. Like, but yeah, it just like I don't know, like, and then just as it evolved after that, even just like our relationship, like working together, and then just on a friendship level too, like that started evolving, and I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't like, I don't know, like, because I think in my brain, like, I still was connecting therapy and coaching as kind of similar. It's just called different things, and there's a little more, I don't know, flexibility maybe, or I don't know if that's the right word, but just like there's not the like you have to follow this script type of thing where I think therapy is a little more scripted, a little more like there's interventions, there's different things that you do. And this just it's different. It feels more what's a good word? It just feels it's different for one, but it's just like you can do more in a sense in some ways. I mean, it's not all that much different than therapy, but it is, if that makes sense.
It does. And I feel like this is going to be a two-part episode, and I feel like in the next episode I want to really dive into that. I want to dive into coaching and therapy, at least with our experiences, and
Yeah,
like how that might be different, the benefits of both. I feel like they braid together beautifully. And I've thought about
they
this
do.
a lot over the years because I think clients who have been in therapy receive at least what I do, which is not therapy. I'm going to make that super clear. I am not a therapist. I'm not trained. Like that is not what I do. But I feel like they braid together, and people who have been in therapy tend to really just like flow right into, they have a lot of like words and experiences and like a knowing of the healing process
Hmm.
that is sometimes most of the time beneficial. And sometimes I'm like, well, hang on, can we like unpack that in a different way for a minute? And I'm not
Yes.
saying therapy is bad, but I think sometimes it's like, well, if we just what if we think about it in just a little bit different way? And what might that look like? And I'm not saying that way is bad. I'm just saying like can both
Right.
be true at the same time and can both benefit you at the same time. And I think as long as we're not rigid and stuck in our thinking, that answer can absolutely be yes. But I think that's
Yeah.
a slippery slope and a tricky beast sometimes. But I do find that, clients who have done therapy before have a little bit, well, maybe that's not fair to say, because not all my clients who haven't had therapy, which I don't even know if all of them have or haven't, right? But like are like, well, what do you mean they have a head start? That's what I was gonna say. Is like people who have done therapy have a head start. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But I do think they blend together beautifully. And I think they can support each other in a way where I'm like, gosh, if we could have both,
Hmm.
how different would the world be?
Yeah, for sure. So I think there are definitely like pieces that go together and just like, I don't know, like sometimes I think there's limitations with therapy that people need. Like therapy is great. And I mean, obviously I'm a therapist, so like I believe in it and things. And also, I think there are times when people need something more or in addition to. And sometimes, like when people are thinking about healing, they're very rigid in their thinking of like, okay, if I go to therapy, if I unpack all my trauma and do, XYZ, I'm going to be healed. And sometimes that's not the case. Like sometimes I feel like there is that second layer or something more that people are wanting. And I think that's where the coaching can kind of do a little more than therapy in some sense, or do it differently, maybe even.
Yeah. I definitely want to unpack that in the next lesson. I do, or not lesson. Geez, what am I talking about? In the next podcast, in next week's episode. Before we do that, can I say a little something?
Yeah.
I was sitting here talking to you on a podcast thinking, okay, we've been working together officially in the mastermind since January, I'm going to
Yeah.
say.
Yep.
Right. And before that we had our couple meetings. So let's say we've known each other since November, right? Right before I
Yeah.
left for Thailand. If you would have asked me even when the day you signed up for the mastermind, if I thought you were going to be on a podcast with me, I would have been like, really? She's going to be what? Not
Yeah,
because I
I would
didn't
have
think you
said
had
no.
it in you, but I just wouldn't have thought you would have even wanted to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
no,
here
I
we
totally would have
are.
said, I totally would have been like, yeah, you're crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. But that also, like, again, is something that came from us working together because we met with Adam Latin and he was like, you need to get your voice out there. You need to do a podcast or you need to do something with your voice. And I was just like, what? What are you talking about? And it was funny because I think had been the week before or 2 weeks before in our team meeting at work. One of my coworkers was like, "We should totally do a podcast." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "You and I have similar stories. Like, I think it would just be amazing to do a podcast together and talk about healing and whatever." And I was just like, "Okay, well, think about it." And then, we met with Adam and he's like, "You need to get your voice out there and do a podcast." And I was like, "What is going on?"
Which was hysterical because previous to that, I was like, I want to ask Asha to be on the podcast. I just don't know what she's going to say. And I wasn't like afraid of you saying no. I just hadn't got the ping that it was time yet. And then he said that. And I'm like, okay, I guess it's time. Like it's time to ask. And then it was like, yeah. And then, the kind of like the, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, oh, we're not going to have any problem about what to talk about. I know that. And what did I rattle off? Like eight things. And you're like, yeah, okay, I'm not
Yeah.
worried about what to talk about anymore. Oh, it's just so good. So I'm grateful you're here. This feels like a good wrap up for just a quick introduction about like who we are, how we're working together, how our friendship came to be, and why you're on this podcast. Is there anything
Yeah.
else? Do you think we're missing anything? I mean, obviously we can't get it all in one little episode, but
Right. No, I think that pretty much sums it up the last few months.
yeah. I appreciate you sharing your experience so candidly because I feel like I do struggle with putting like this, all of this, the choose yourself experience, the summits, the working together, the community. Like that is like my big, like the community, right? Like I struggle. Well, I can't put words to any of it. I can't put words to Reiki. Like I really do struggle with words. And I'm going to write a book. So here you go. Like figure that one out. But I appreciate your sharing your experience because I think, I might not be the best at finding the words for it, but I think having more people. And here's the thing, this is not about like me getting people to come to me. It's about people healing and having a life with ease, a life with compassion, and a life that like you feel good about. And I don't know where you started all the way back when you started, but for me, when I started, my life was a lot of pain and angst and hiding, and it did not feel good. It was not easy. It was very
Right.
frustrating. And so for me, it's not about finding me or finding us. It's about finding your person, finding your people, finding your guides that can assist you and support you in creating an easier life for yourself, creating one that gives you wonder and awe and love and support and guidance and fun, you know?
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for joining me, Asha. You're great. Bye. Be you every day.